Hello, everybody. Anime Reflux. I am becoming a little under the weather, so I'm going to be kind of groggy for this one. So, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's great. Um,
yeah.
what was the anime for
Ken's
this
not
week?
here.
Ken's
We're
not
we were
here.
doing
He's at work.
Chaos Dragon Sekiryuu Senyaku was the anime
Right.
for this week.
That name that no one is going to remember in a million years.
Just call it Chaos Dragon. It works.
Sure. Yeah.
So I did some research into this, and so basically this is based off a light novel series, which is based off a tabletop role playing game that five notable writers played
Hmm.
together over like the course of like six sessions, or like they were over like 6 days, and those were they were Gen Urobuchi, which does he was behind Fate Zero, uh, Kinoku Nasu from Karano Kyokai, the Nasu being one of the big Fate series writers, Iruki Kyokuko. Yeah, Kyogyo. I can't pronounce it. But there was a guy who made Mimizuku to Yoru no O and Ryoga Narita from Durara and Sima Doriru, who was a member of this Dojin circle. And so all these guys got together and they kind of played essentially. I don't know if it was D&D, but they were doing a tabletop role playing game session, and they made seven light novels based off of their sessions together.
Hmm.
And then that got turned into this anime.
That's an interesting backstory for it. Sounds almost like Critical Role.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was bringing it up. Was this is basically if somebody turned Critical Role into an anime? Except I'm pretty sure these guys took their roles a little bit more seriously.
Maybe a
Because
little bit too seriously, but that's
yeah. So we start on the island of Nil Kamui, which is a small island nation that's kind of separated from the rest of the continent that's embroiled in like a huge war. And we specifically start in an orphanage where we get introduced to uh, Ibuki, which is our white-haired protagonist, and the other orphan girls that are just in the orphanage.
hmm.
Uh, we get we cut over to like people from the mainland, like the invading side, are like on their way to Nilkamui. Kind of a they're transporting something at the time. We don't know what it is, but they're on their way and
No, I think they
trying
say
to
what it is at that point. They
uh,
say
yeah.
it's a stone that's used to communicate with the dragon or something.
I think they mentioned that later, but they were like a Red Dragon expedition team. Is what they said they were at the time. They mentioned the stone specifically later. I might be wrong.
I don't know.
So they head over. They head over. We cut back. Uh, Main orphan girl, who's close friend to Ibuki, is bathing, I guess. And then she gets out and she's like doing. She gets dressed, goes out and does this whole shrine maiden type thing. There's this guy who's like, "Hey, where is he?" And she's like, "Oh, he's in the orphanage dojo." I'm like, "Oh, cool. This orphanage has a dojo. Orphanage has a dojo, sure." And
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
little odd.
and so we see he's just swinging his sword, and the new guy runs in and he swings his sword, and
Well,
Ibuki
thinking about
blocks
it,
it.
a dojo is basically just an empty room that has weapons in it. So,
True, true.
yeah.
Not that hard to get.
Anyway,
Uh,
new guy's name is Fugaku.
yeah, Fugaku, and Fugoku's like, "Hey, let's spar," and Ibuki's like, "I'm not learning. I'm not practicing so I can fight. I don't want to fight." And through their conversation, we learned that Ibuki is next in line to be king, but he doesn't want to be king. He doesn't think the island needs a king, and he's just like, I'm going to go into the market today. And Fugaku's like, "Oh, take this dragon sword with you. You know, just do it for me. Just it's ceremonial. Just carry it on you." He's like, "Yeah, now you look like a king." And Ibuki leaves with
At which
his.
point, Ibuki immediately takes off the sword because he doesn't want to be king.
Yeah,
is what probably should have happened, but didn't for some reason.
yeah. He's just like, "Fine, I'll just take it at once." And and Fugaku's like, "I'm sorry for I'm having to force you down the path of destruction." If this was like in D&D, it's like, you better take that sword with you if you want the plot to progress. Oh.
Yeah, now that you've said that that's the origin of this whole thing, is that it was a D&D, well, a tabletop campaign, I'm just thinking all of it through like, oh, that was the plot MacGuffin in the DM was basically like, okay, you have to take the fucking thing. Just take the fucking thing.
Yeah. So the character makes sense in that context a lot more. So they head into town, and he briefly bumps into a blonde-haired guy and his maid, and I believe the blonde-haired guy.
Polite.
Yeah,
an attendant,
and the blonde attendant. Yeah, and I believe the blonde-haired guy is also a PC in this campaign.
Probably.
Yeah, I had the thing up for who created who because I was interested in this.
Evidently.
Yeah. This was Nasu who created the blonde guy. The guy who did Kara no Kyokai. He's one of the Fate writers. And so they part ways. He runs past, and the blonde-haired guy is like, "Oh boy, smell this fresh air." And his attendant's like, "Are you sure? Like, can't you just read the atmosphere? There's a war going on. Everybody's tense here from the effects of it." He's like, relax." And
he says something about the black dragon wanted us here or something, and then we basically move back to protagonists.
Yeah.
And they're like buying food, and the girl whose name I forget because, well, she dies in the first episode. I mean, I'm not entirely sure where you're coming to this. This would have been spoiled because it happens in the first episode, but she dies in the first episode, so I don't really remember her name. Go figure.
She's the character motivation.
Yeah. So they're haggling, and then it's announced that the 5,000 man commander, general of the army that's basically taken hold of the country is going to pass through the village. So get the hell out of the way, basically.
Yeah.
So everyone sort of scrambles and starts screaming, which kind of sets the tone for occupying invaders and such. So they wander through and say how great they are and how they have this stone that's used to communicate with it. Yeah, they totally mentioned it in the previous scene. I just remembered they mentioned it this explicitly, but they show it so that what's his name can have a freak out over it.
Yeah.
Ibuki, was it? Izumi something?
Ibuki, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So he has a freak out on that being close to him and sees the dragon. And it's like, hey, let's hang out and stuff, and we'll be cool. And yeah.
Yeah. Contract, and he starts screaming.
Internally, presumably based on how everyone's acting around him, he doesn't do it externally.
Then our evil villainess walks up to him and she's like, "Hey, is that a sword at your waist?" Yeah, no, you're not allowed to carry that around. And he's like, "But it's a ceremonial sword. It has no edge. It can't cut anything." And she's like, "Yeah, well, can't have that. Hand it over." And so he is like, "No, no, no. Yes, yes, no, no. Yes, yes, no." And eventually he's like,
Yeah.
"No.
All the
I'm
characters
gonna."
get involved, and he eventually is trying to hand it over, but just can't bring himself to do it.
And then Fuogu's like, "Everybody attack! Let's cause violence." And
Yay!
violence
He
breaks
encourages
out.
violence.
uh,
Sorry, I'm not sorry.
this is so much more fun if you think about it as a D&D campaign. Of okay, so while you're thinking about this, he's going to go attack. It's like, wait, no, no,
Who
oh,
says
come
I
on.
would like to rage?
uh,
God damn it!
so there's violence breaks out. They're like, okay, everybody, we gotta contain this. Like everybody starts fighting. You see this like girl on this dragon uh thing fly overhead. That's also a PC, by the way, player character.
Hmm.
um, that was by Izuki Kyo Kaigyoku, the one I
Sure.
can't pronounce. So I can't remember exactly what happens next. I remember they're basically running for violence.
Next, it was, I believe, the fat guy, who is a fat guy. He shows up and is like, you, guy, I'm kill you," or something. And
Mm-hmm.
other boy who we don't know or care about runs up and says, "Hey, you bad, meanie head." And fat guy is like, "Okay, I'll kill you first then." And girl runs ahead and gets slashed by him instead. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like she starts to bleed out, and he grabs her. He manages to escape with her.
Yep, into a church like building.
Yeah, and he's just like, "Oh, come on, come on." He's like, I thought if I wasn't king, then the war would just not really reach us, and I didn't want any of this, but yet I'm still so weak and powerless." And then,
Yeah, his
you know,
plan was basically, okay, the royal family, my family, just got killed by these invaders. So my plan is now to not take the throne so that our country will be leaderless and taken over in short order so that the occupying force can basically enslave the entire nation and everything will be hunky-dory.
mm,
Worth remembering he's a kid.
yeah,
So good role-playing, I guess?
I guess. So then he has his like protagonist rage moment where contract comes back up again. Oh yeah, the box from earlier also flew open and the
Oh yeah,
gemstone
and
embedded
the
itself in
stone
his
hit him in the
chest.
chest, and it was that was the thing that caused the fat guy to show up and say, "Hey, what the fuck?"
And that was how and then he did a rage thing, which caused him to escape. So now he's just like, okay, Red Dragon's like, oh, give you a contract and give you power. It's
What's
gonna
his
be
name
great.
is like, "Hey, will you be able to save her as well?" And Dragon's like, "Sure,
If
okay."
that's your wish. And he's like, well, my wish is to change the world and make it better. And he's like, okay. So we're gonna need a tribute.
The sacrifice of one virgin. Oh look,
It has
that's not what he says, but
no.
the
It's
implication is
it's
very much
it's the
that.
it's the sacrifice of the one that's really close to you.
Hmm.
Has to be killed with that sword. Like it's like he's Sasuke.
Hmm.
Kill your best friend. Kill him now. Uh, so he's forced to essentially kind of stab his waifu in the back. And she's like, okay, well, I'll always be with you. It's totally fine. He's like, no, I can't. It's totally. DM's like, it's totally fine. You got, just do it.
Hmm.
And so he stabs her, and her blood goes flying out, and then retracts into the sword. Now your waifu is your sword, basically, I guess.
Probably.
And then he goes and he fights the fat man from earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing pretty well now. He's doing pretty decently. You've acquired level 1, uh,
Hmm.
and uh, big, huge fire explosion. He rolled a natural 20, and everybody sees the beacon of flames. And then you see, it's from multiple. You see Aha, the cat girl, who's obviously a PC, blonde guy, and then this one creepy character with this weird red box, who's also a PC, I believe, and that's the one that the Fate Stay Night guy, uh, or Fate Zero guy did,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh hey, all the PCs. I think there's like one more that I don't know if we actually saw them, but uh, and then it ends with him taking the body of his little waifu over to back to the orphanage, I think, or back to the one of the orphanage girls, and she's dead. Everyone's crying, and he's like, "I'm going to be the king of this island." He says to, can't remember who.
Don't know. Don't really
Mm.
care. Like, it's strange. I was more favorable towards this until you mentioned that it was a tabletop campaign. Like,
It was based
because
off a
then
light novel. It's based off tabletop.
yeah, but the roots are still there and not going away anywhere. So yeah, it's all a lot of author indulgence and author characters that just yeah.
Yeah,
My brain's a little asleep, but
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Casey's not feeling too well today, so please pardon him.
yeah. So it feels a lot more indulgent knowing that than it did previously, which is probably unfair, but I don't know.
You got anything to say, patient?
Not really. I mean, I'm not familiar with D&D myself. I'm planning to change that in the near future, but
Just
in
talk about the
general,
show as if it's a show.
nah, not much to say. It's not a bad story. I I like it all right, but the part about having to kill his friend just because of eh, well, I don't like the part about having to kill off people close to you just because of things like that. I don't like the thought of having to kill off people close to you in general. How about I just go with that?
That's
Yeah,
fair.
it's supposed to be a needs of the many, etc.
I
thing.
know, I know, I know. It
I
doesn't make it
know
any more pleasant.
it doesn't, and yeah, the fact that it has to be someone that's close to him seems a little like that's an unnecessary stipulation, really.
Yeah. So, Uh, well, I feel like if this because this was like based off a light novel based off a essentially D&D campaign type thing.
Mm.
I imagine that in the D&D campaign it was a lot less serious, and they're like, we need to make it actually serious and have dramatic weight. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure in the tabletop campaign it was like, oh no, the NPC died. What a shame.
Because like these are all a bunch of writers.
We
playing
knew her for
together.
all of 5 minutes. Oh, woe is me. Woe is me.
Yeah. So I personally I enjoyed this. I wouldn't say I really loved it or but this is something I could see myself casually watching, I guess.
I'll give it one thing. It had some surprisingly dynamic cinematography. Like the opening shot with the swooping camera
Oh
angles around the
yeah, we
characters and
didn't even talk
everything.
about that.
Yeah.
The opening shot that's like in media res.
Yes, that is quite. I do like those kinds of openings.
Yeah. It was pretty sharp. And with the fight with the fat guy, that did a similar thing. That wasn't bad
Yeah.
either.
He started with an opening monologue being like, I have to kill my friends or something. Um, which I'm guessing is like, so your character is that if you kill the PCs, you'll get more powerful. Betray them. No. Oh. I'm just. The show's given me a lot to think about for it. More than I thought it would. So, it's decent, but it's not going to be a masterpiece, I don't think.
No.
All right, let's.
I will roll.
All right, I've got the list ready.
Okay.
Let's get this over with so that Casey can go sleep.
Well, no.
Casey has to record another thing that has to go out today, and then he has to edit 2 things that have to go out today. And then he can sleep. But yes, the sooner this gets done, the sooner we can do those.
Yeah.
Poor Casey.
So,
A rough day.
9.
9. That's I.
Oh.
That doesn't really work as well with the shouting the letter thing.
34.
All right, let's see what we get.
Initial D's on here. Inuyasha.
20.
20. Precisely 20.
Iron Man.
I think this might be another one of the few-minute episodes. Inu to Hasami wa Tsukayo, or Dog and Scissors.
Oh no, I know Dog and Scissors. No, this is a full series.
What was it called?
Inu to Hasami wa Tsukayo.
Yeah. Okay. This was a Okay. So Dog and Scissors is an anime about this guy really loves books, right? And he's a big fan of this novelist, and he actually finds the novelist writing in a cafe, and she's like being held up at gunpoint, and he protects her, but he's killed and reincarnated into a dachshund dog. And so, yeah, he ends up kind of, I guess, living with her. And she's like a novelist, and he's a dog now, and it's kind of funny and it's kind of strange. But I remember I like this show.
Okay. I'm down for that.
The very first line of the summary on GoGo anime is a nonsense comical mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
I remember it being fun.
Okay, well, the comments starts with literally dog gets a harem. Short description.
What?
Okay.
Not
What?
really, but it's not in that sense, no. But it's entertaining. It's played for laughs.
Okay.
Right then. So, Dog and Scissors.
Yeah, that's what we'll watch it next week.
I'm not even sure if I remember finishing this anime, but I remember liking it for what I saw. This came out in 2013, so
Yeah.
it's not like 4 years ago then.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're doing next week. And hopefully I'll be in better shape by then. If not, I will be in far worse shape, depending on how this goes. So yeah, Dog and Sinners
Dog and Sinners.
kill me. Dog and Scissors is what we're doing next week, and until then, bye everybody.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.